Hi guys, and welcome to a new season of Moat Cottage Homesteading. I'm Elisa, and today we're going to do an update video and we're going to talk about life, challenges and wins and losses on the homestead. I guess I've really been putting off this video because I don't like talking about my health and I prefer to focus on the things that I can do and not what I can't. And in the last 9 months, I have had a lot of challenges with my chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, but I've also had other issues as well where I apparently put my back out and I didn't realize it was my back because the pain was elsewhere and I couldn't even walk. So I just woke up one day and I couldn't walk, and I've had other issues. So there's been a lot of different things and swollen joints and other things. So anyway, it's been challenging, but I still have been able to do things, but I just haven't taken the time to turn the camera on or to go into social media and read everything and answer messages because my thumb is completely out of action when it comes to typing, and I use my phone and I couldn't type, so that's why I haven't been able to respond to everything still. My health has improved somewhat, enough for me to be able to make videos again, so I'm really excited to be back. And what I've done is I've completely cut out sugar and I've cut out wheat products, and of course anything processed. You know little things sneak in, and I'm making my own seed crackers and soups and beautiful dishes, and I feel like I'm eating so much better and everything's tastier and I'm really enjoying it more. I feel like it's a gain and it's not a loss, and I feel like that's really helped with all my joints and inflammation and things that the extra things that I've been having on top of the fibromyalgia and the chronic fatigue. So that's really helped a lot. And like I said, I feel like it's a win because I'm not, awake in the night, and life is easier and I can move around a bit and I can walk, and yeah, so it's definitely worth it. And there's so many good foods. I found what I do is I just make sure I'm organized and I have meals prepared in advance. I make my own yogurt, I make chia puddings, I think I said soups and casseroles, and there's a lot of beautiful foods you can eat and that are so delicious. So anyway, I'm doing really well on that, and I think I've made my point clear, so we'll move on. I live in Victoria, Australia, and we've been in lockdown. Well, this is our 6th lockdown, so we're in lockdown at the moment, and this is our 6th one, although really for me it's my 5th because I didn't come out between number 1 and number 2, and I really regretted that by number 2. Like when number 2 hit, I'd had enough and I was ready to get out, and I couldn't because we'd got into the 2nd lockdown. So yeah, it's been a challenge, but I have everything here that I need, so when they call a lockdown and there's 3 hours into a lockdown, that's okay. I just don't need to rush out and get anything at the shops or anything like that because I'm organised. I have the veggie garden, I have all my supplies in the kitchen, everything's set up and I'm good to go. So it's not a mad panic for me or my family that's here. So that's and everyone's going through stuff, and there's a lot of people who are going through it a lot worse than us. So despite my health challenges, life has been going on, and we've had some really good crops in the vegetable garden. We had a good summer crop and we've had a good winter crop, and it's just been beautiful. The garden is ever changing, and it's really a beautiful place to be because you just have so much life out there, and like I said, everything's changing all the time. And I do laps a couple of times a day where I just walk around the garden and see what's happening, and I can fix anything, or I'll make note of something that needs to be pruned. And if you do a little bit every day, or on the days that you can, then there's never a day where it's like, okay, today we have to prune and you've got to prune the whole garden or fix everything in the garden. You just do a little bit here and there, and it's amazing what you can achieve when you just do a little bit at a time. we did have a loss on the homestead last November, and I haven't been able to talk about that at all. It's been really difficult. We lost our cat Jasper. And he was 16 years old. And he got really sick. He just couldn't walk properly. He started limping. So we took him to the vets, and they weren't really sure what was wrong. And they gave me some medication, and he was getting worse. And so I took him back in, and he went to the hospital for cats. And they worked out that he had a heart condition and that he had a blood clot, and that's what was stopping him from walking on his back two legs. And the hard part about this was that he was fully aware, his mind was still 100%, and he would just look at me. And he couldn't walk. And he didn't know why. Anyway, he stayed in the hospital for a few days, and then they let me bring him home, and we had him on 24-hour care. So we were looking after him 24 hours a day. We were trying to release the blockage of the blood clot, and we had to do massages and turn him, and he had some pain medication, so he wasn't in pain. But he wasn't getting better. We knew it was time, but it was hard because he wasn't unwell in his mind and his head. Like he wanted to be awake, and he wanted to be with us. And I knew this would be hard to talk about. I don't cry normally in my life. I'm not a crier, but this is really a hard one for me. Anyway, we had Jasper for 16 and a half really good years. He was part of our family, and he was one of those cats that he was always on me, or it'd be 46 degrees Celsius and I'd be trying to read a book or be on my phone or do something, and he would be wanting to sit on me. And I'd be like, goodness, don't you feel the heat? And he'd be tripping me over, following me around. He was in a lot of the videos because he was always just around. And he was part of our family. He was the boss of the family, really. So it's been a big loss, and I've really missed him a lot because I'm home all the time and he was always with me. So it's been hard. It's been really hard. He did have a really good life, and we loved him a lot. And he had a nice ending, even though he was unwell, and he was at home and he got to be with us. We had the whole family come around, like all my kids, and we just sat around on the veranda because we had to have some fresh air for social distancing for the vets to come, and they were beautiful, and we had a really nice ending where we were all together and it was peaceful at the end. We got to bury him in our yard near the front gate so he doesn't miss anything. He sees everything coming and going, and we put a beautiful big rock in place and have planted some naked ladies around the rocks, so they'll look pretty in summer. And my sister, who makes beautiful frames, made this beautiful frame for me, and we put this at the front door on our table at the front door, and we get to see him when we walk past all the time, so that's nice. And my sister does make beautiful frames. If you want to check her out, she's a salvage girl inspired on Australian Etsy, or you can check her out on Instagram as well. I'll leave her links in the description below. We lost Jasper at the end of spring, and then summer came, and it was the most beautiful summer that we've had in such a long time. There was no smoke in the air, no out of control bushfires. The days were just lovely, like they were in the 30s, high 30s, low 40s. It wasn't extreme like you know, the mid 40-degree heat waves that we get. And it was such a much more bearable summer. And we were also getting the occasional rain, which was also really nice too. So the next challenge we had on the homestead was that we had a duck go missing, and I wasn't really sure what happened to her. And then I started to hear around town that people were getting fox attacks in their coops, and it was all different places in town. So there were different foxes because people were catching them as well in traps. So I bought a trap, I ordered a trap. That was the first thing I did. And while that was coming, I started to extend fences. I started to build secure locking areas where nothing could get into it, and my ducks would be safe, because this was the first time we'd had a fox coming into the homestead in 19 years. So we had to up security. Now the fox did come back, and she managed to get another duck and take that, and I raced out in the middle of the night because I heard flapping, but I couldn't see her. She'd nicked off and she was really quiet, so I couldn't save that duck. And then the next time it happened, because it takes time to build things, especially in summer, because you've got straw everywhere, and it's summer in Australia, so there was nowhere for me to use an angle grinder. So, you know, cutting a piece of tin, instead of taking me 4 minutes, and that includes getting the angle grinder out and plugging it in, it takes me 4 hours because I have to do it by hand. And because I'd only have an angle grinder or I have hand tools. So it's my pure determination and stubbornness that I spend 4 hours cutting one piece of tin when I know I can do it in 4 minutes. And it had to be done, so I did it. We managed to save the third duck. My son raced out and she dropped that duck and it died in our arms. But there was another one that was injured that we were able to rescue, and she couldn't walk. So initially I had put salve on her cuts. She had cuts sort of under her wings on her body from the teeth where she'd been chomped, and that would stop the flies getting in. So the salve really protected it from the wounds from getting flies, and it helped heal. So even though she couldn't walk, I didn't think it was her legs. I felt like it was her body. So I just would move her around, so she had different shady spots to be in, and she had water and food, and then I would give her a bath once a day, and so she could clean herself, which she was quite capable of having the bath, but she couldn't get in and out obviously because she couldn't walk. And within a couple of weeks she healed, and now she's walking around perfectly fine. So that was a win. So what I've done is I've extended the fences so they can't get into where they sleep. I've added a fence in and this door, so it's a whole protected little room in here. On the back end I've added a higher fence. Now they weren't getting in this side, but I want to make sure it's a whole secure room. These little cages, sometimes the chickens and ducks go in there and have babies, and that's where I can lock them every night if they're in there. And I've added 2 doors and a mesh screen up the top so that these get locked up every night and all the birds are asleep. That's where they sleep, in there, on these shelves and in this area. I bought this fox trap online and I put it together, and I've got some meat in the back there, and I put a bit of leaves and straw on the bottom just so it's sort of more camouflaged and looks more like how I would have something that the birds would possibly be nesting in. And I'll only set it at night, and hopefully we can catch the fox, or at least some of its cubs when she brings her cubs back. I'll just test the trap to make sure it works in this position. Brilliant, that'll be great, and I'll make sure I set that every single night once the birds are locked up. In Victoria, red foxes are declared an established pest animal, and landowners have the responsibility to take all reasonable steps to prevent the spread of, and as far as possible, eradicate established pest animals from their land. So I'm going to take this fella out to the bush and give him a quick ending. The summer ended and autumn began. We've actually had a really wet autumn and winter. I'm usually looking at the weather forecast, waiting for the next rain and wondering when it will come. But it rained and rained and rained, and it got muddier and muddier. And then one beautiful winter's day, the sky was clear and blue and I planned to be out in the garden, and big machinery turned up in the paddock next door and the chainsaws started. I had to go out. I couldn't watch. I felt like Phoebe on Friends when she's watching the Christmas trees go into the mulcher. And they were just the old dead ones. These are beautiful live trees that I've been living with for 19 years, and I sit and watch, and they change over the seasons, and all the birds come and go, and they're the backdrop to some of my videos, and I just love them so much. There's nothing better than sitting out there on a beautiful evening, sitting, watching the garden, and then the big trees in the background with all the birds in them, and I just love it. And so I couldn't watch them be cut down. So when I came home, they were gone and they were being mulched up. The most important win for me is that my human family has all been well in this crazy year and a half that we've had. So that is something to really be grateful for. We've had good crops, we've had beautiful harvests of different foods, and I've been able to eat it, freeze it, preserve it. Most of the shelves are still pretty full, so we're doing well. I want to thank you so much for those of you who've sent me beautiful messages. I'm still working my way through the messages. I don't have notifications on, so I don't know when things come in, and I haven't been in Instagram since last year, so I've got a lot of catching up to do in there, and I also have a lot of catching up to do on YouTube as well, and I've been working my way through the messages, but some messages are just hard to answer because I have so much to say and it really hurts to use my thumb for typing, and because I use my phone, that's what I use. So I have to do moderation, and I'm really bad at it. That's an understatement. Maybe I'll have to make videos with responses to comments, and just do one a week maybe of answers to questions. I could do something like that, and that could be an extra video as well as my normal educational sort of videos that I make. Let me know in the comments below if you'd be interested in a Q&A session once a week or something, or if you've got any other ideas, let me know as well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.